gotta bring energy. I know what you're
Yeah, I know.
All right, let's get it.
Yeah. They have their label showing, man, because they're not sponsored.
All right, we good.
All right, man, let's get it.
Woo. Y'all already know what it is, man. It's another day in the lab. Back here with my boys. We got a special guest on today. He's gonna introduce himself, talk to y'all about it. But again, you know, it's the Unspoken from the Outspoken.
Sir.
We back in the lab. Like I said, let's go. So first we're gonna start off introducing our guest, man. Special guy here on campus, Tuck. But just tell a little bit about yourself, bro. Who you are.
Appreciate that, man. So Darnell Tucker. I work here in the marketing office. Not really gonna get into the title. I just do a lot of internal comm, and then I help out with a lot of other student affairs areas. And graduated in 15, and then came and just been working here ever since. So that's the shortcut.
All right, bro. No, that's good, man. Definitely. Right now, guys, Tuck. We also started a Brotherhood group here on campus, and Tuck's like the president of the organization. So really shout out to Tuck, man, because like Emilio was saying, how he was always looking for that, you know, that type of group on campus. I was, Nate was, CJ was it all, man. So really shout out to Tuck for starting that, man. But kind of behind the Tuck, like, what was your idea and everything on starting the organization?
I won't take all the credit for it. So Mike Greg's the assistant basketball coach for the men's team. We've been talking about this for a while. Like, when I say a while, like, we've been talking about this since I was a student here, like back in 2011. So
middle school.
It's
Middle school.
it made me feel old, man. But really how it came about is we had guys looking out for us like 24/7. Like, from the moment I stepped on the campus, I had Rich Jackson, who used to work in student affairs, and then he worked in advancement. I had Grad King, the VP of advancement right now. Like, these guys looked out for me since the moment I stepped on campus, and they didn't know who I was. It was just that, like, that natural bond we had, and I'm just like, man, like, I benefited from these relationships so much, and there's so many kids like that don't know about Rich Jackson or that don't know about Grad King. So I don't know if I should push everyone onto them, but I feel like I need to create something to where they don't need a Greg King or a Rich Jackson, but they can go to any black male on campus and kind of be on some, can I use you as a resource? Like, help me figure this thing out. Because, I mean, higher ed is a confusing time. Like, I compare higher ed to middle school. Because you're trying to figure yourself out, you don't know who you are, you changing your friend group. So it's a real interesting time right now in higher ed. So I feel like if we got something established to help some guys out, why not? So.
You know, I really feel that we really are, like, here in college, trying to find ourselves. You really think about it, like, imagine when you were in, like, middle school, high school, when you looked at, like, a college student, like, in your head, you're like, man, that guy's got everything, like in mind, he knows what he's gonna do. But, like, now that we're in this spot, we're just grown-ass, like, kids, you know? So,
I never thought of it like that. Like, it is kind of like middle school, because it's like kind of like a fresh start from elementary school. Like, you're going through changes in your life, changing like with your friend group, like who you are. So it's like, wow, it's like a reset button, kind of like. I was like, wow, I never thought of that. That really happened though.
For real?
Yeah.
It happens for everyone.
Yeah.
Facts. So what made you choose that path next? Like, once you graduated in 2015, and then would you get like a little break, or did you, like, let's have that empty space where you got a degree, you don't kind of know what you want to get into? So talk about, I guess, maybe what your degree is and why did you choose that degree?
Undergrad or 2 months?
Yeah, for your undergrad.
Okay. So I initially came here as a math major. So
I died quick.
Let me tell you, man. So I came here, I'm thinking, like, yeah, I'm gonna be a math college professor, you know, get it in like that. Got the Calc 2. I was scratching my head a lot in class, like, going to tutor and everything. So I'm like, all right, I know I still want to, like, my initial motivation was to just help motivate, because I feel like I've never seen a black math teacher before. And so I was like, that's what I'm gonna be. So had some obstacles, math wasn't working out, so I was like, all right, I'm gonna go the education route. So I figured I'll be a teacher, and I'll be in K through 12, help kids out that way. But with the relationships I built, the people I knew, it just opened my eyes to different experiences, and just talking to mentors and they were just like, well, you know, you can still help kids out and work on the college campus. Like, you can still be that motivator. You can still be the person that inspires. So I thought of another. So I graduated. I had to stick with something. So I stuck with the education route. But then I went on to Kent State and I got my master's in higher education, just so like I get that official title of I know what I'm doing working at a school. And so during that time, Mount actually helped me pay for that degree through a couple programs they have here. And just like it's all about relationships and being in certain circles, you get on with certain resources that's going on campus. And so Rich Jackson, Grad King took me under their wing through the Manzilla program. And Grad King was actually the first Manzilla intern to ever exist. They created the program because they wanted to keep him on campus. Basically, from there on, it was just like I had to make sure I specialized in something, so I feel like I'm official. So I'm not just out here just like, hey, I'm just here because I don't want to leave college type thing. So
that's what I thought until I started hearing it.
So it was a 2-year program at Kent State. It went pretty smooth for real. So I was just like an intern around campus for a little bit, helping out BSU, co-advisor. And that kind of where more of the inspiration came from, just getting that experience of helping out, advising a group, which made me feel like I'm ready for this next step of the Brotherhood. So.
Okay, nice. Well, just to change things up a little bit, Nate has a quote of the day. He has this quote, and he wants to hear kind of based off, reflect on how you feel about this quote and everything.
So we did this quote with DJ earlier. I kind of want to get your intake on it. Anger brings change. Your life is defined by what you hate. Whatever you don't hate, you will never change. By Dr. Miles Monroe.
I mean, that definitely goes right along with kind of like how I build people up that's in my circle, or build people up that I'm around. I never want to be the most successful person in my friend group. And I tell that to all my friends, and I let them know, like, not trying to be blunt or anything, but like, we should all be inspiring each other. So like, if you comfortable with me being better than you, then what kind of friendship we got going on? So like, we should always be in competition with each other, not unhealthy competition as far as like, I want to be better than you, but hey, I'm about to pull the best out of you right now. Like, we ain't about to be sitting around here doing nothing. Like, we got to get going. We got to figure something out. So I definitely think you always need some kind of motivation to make you better. And if that's through anger or through not wanting to be complacent, then that's where it needs to come from. I think for me, it's more like comfortability. And so I always tell people, like, you need to get comfortable with being uncomfortable, because greatness only comes when you're uncomfortable and when you're in these unknown situations. Like, it can be scary, and that can come through anything. It can come through class, it can come through friendships, it can come through new jobs, new environments in general. So
you always talk about like stresses and stuff.
Exactly. Now that I hear the quote for a second time, like I got a better understanding of what you actually meant. But yeah, it's a lot to do with like not being complacent, and like hate's a strong word. I don't like using it, but like if like you're comfortable and like you're complacent with everything that's in your life right now, nothing's gonna change. If you're okay with living in your mom's crib, if you're okay with like staying here and not evolving to that, then you're gonna stay there. You gotta feel some towards animosity towards it sometimes. Okay.
I feel like we do that for the podcast itself. Like, we were like up this like early this afternoon, just like planning a way to make these 2 videos great. And I remember like the last video, you were mentioning how, you know, you see Marcellus do events back home and everything, and that motivates you to even keep doing better things. So like, that's exactly what you want to see.
I call this man my rival, bro, because he for the
That's
first
healthy,
time
man.
he got a higher GPA than me, bro. And I'm like, damn, like this, nah, bro. I'm gonna beat this man for my last semester.
Even with Nate, like when I see him do workouts over spring breaks or Christmas breaks, like that motivates me saying, all right, bet I'm about to be in the gym 6 a.m. in the morning. Yeah, you know what I mean? So like, you know, it's just like stuff like that, you know, like.
And last semester they had the rust bucket. Now he got a BMW here, man.
Yeah, bro.
So now I'm like, hey man, what I got going on?
That's what I'm saying.
Gotta get right. So
Yeah.
so happy for that, man. I definitely feel it, bro. Like you said,
that's a good quote.
Y'all boys definitely motivate me, man, because y'all boys do great in the classroom. And my man CJ, you do good. Just with God, his
I'll motivate you in the classroom.
You are higher than that.
I'll motivate you in the classroom. I was wondering what he was going to say. He said, God, brother, you don't motivate. I was like that.
But no, CJ always studying. Like when he study, he hit me up and he motivate me to go study. So having people around you like that just want you to be great, you know, is something that you have to have in your circle. You have to surround yourself with winners. If you surround yourself with losers, you're gonna be a loser in life. You're not gonna prevail. So I think that's a great quote by Dr. Miles Monroe.
100%. But in your story, we heard a lot about motivation and how like you want to motivate. So, one, are you still doing that? Are you still trying to motivate these kids?
Yeah, definitely. I try to put my hand in anything I could. So since I graduated, I've been coaching youth league football here in the Alliance. So I started off coaching one of my friends. One of his kids was in 3rd grade. So I started off as like assistant coach. Since then, I've just been like the head coach of the teams, moving up with the kid. Got 2 ships out of it.
Okay.
And so,
I mean, they take that on serious. So, like, I know, like, they take it serious.
Aviators, baby.
I mean, really, always trying to motivate anything I do. And so I go to all his basketball games, him and his friends, and most of the kids that play on the football team play basketball. So the best thing you can do for a kid at that age is just be there. Tell them what they did good, tell them what they need to work on, but like you just being there, like, hey, I got your back. I'm watching you. Like we in this together. But more importantly, Monday through Friday when they stop at the gym and get a lift with them or do some ladder with them, like little stuff like that is what I didn't have growing up. So I think motivation can come by just being there for kids. I don't have to sit down and talk to them and sit down and tell them what greatness is like, but I can just be there and just lead by example kind of thing. So, and not all the kids in the Alliance need it, but you never know who really needs the most, because I'm with kids that have fathers in their lives that's involved, but it's also a few kids who it's just a single parent family or single parent household, and you never know what kind of effect you're having on those kids. So I'm always trying to motivate anytime I can, man. So
I think also with that, a lot of the kids, like, they may have like a father in their life and everything, but it's also great to have another like male figure or female figure in their life that they can just be comfortable talking to. Because a lot of kids growing up is like they always feel comfortable talking and speaking to their parents, you know. So like that's really great that you be there for them.
Yeah, I've seen you two share that similar experience with like the Raider Buddies stuff that you guys do with the football team.
Yeah. Like Raider Buddies, that was a great thing during football season. You got to mentor kids that were in middle school. How old were they? Like
they were in middle school, 3rd grade.
Like 8 or 9.
They're like 8, but yeah.
8 or 9. So some of them kids majority of them kids was fatherless, homeless. Like just being able to go to that school and see them kids smiling, like that was probably the best feeling in the world for real. So I definitely like what you're doing for the kids for real, because the kids need motivation.
The crazy thing about it, the kids the kids didn't even know us at the school. Like we were just random like grown men. And, you know, we were just being nice to them. You know, just being there for them, encouraging them to have a good day at school and like playing basketball with them, playing dodgeball and stuff like that. And like then the next week they were like, yeah. I'm like, you barely know me, dog. Like what? But they're cool. Like yeah. So it like surprised me, and then like it was like therapy kind of, cause it was like they're so happy like all the time just to go outside, eat Doritos and go outside. Like you know what I mean? Like it's a great experience. I know it's probably a great feeling for you too to have that feeling.
Just facts, man. But like Amelia, actually too, man. Like, what about like your why, your motivation, bro? Like, why do you do what you do, man? Was that just something you didn't have, or was that just something you did have? You just want to do it for others?
It's kind of half and half with me. So at 5 years old, my dad left the house, but I always had my brother. So me and my older brother are 6 years apart. So he was kind of like that father figure to me. But he was kind of similar, and I'm trying to take his route with, he don't really like sit down and tell you like what you're doing wrong, what you need to do right. Like it was more of like, hey, you watching me, so I'm showing you what you need to do. So you either take this route or you go down the wrong path, and I'm only gonna warn you once or twice, but eventually, like, you pick the side that you're gonna go down, because I mean, life is a game, so you're gonna figure you can take the bad route, you can take the good one. So I can't force myself to make somebody have a perfect life. I can just show them what to do, kind of thing. So, but I guess my why really is like, I don't want a kid to feel lost, and I don't really know what that means, but I don't want a kid that looks like me walking around lost. And I think the motivation behind that is you always want to see people who look like you succeed, kind of thing. And also because like the negative stereotypes that you hear a lot about some of the kids here, I shouldn't say kids anymore, but some of the students here that you see on campus, and you hear some of the backstories and what some students went through just to get here. But a lot of people turn that blinder on, and they just say, oh, all these kids that look like that, they act like this, so I'm gonna put them in this bubble. And they don't really understand like what's behind each student and like how different each student is. Because I'm pretty sure I can put certain people of this campus in front of you two, and they'll probably tell me, oh, they got the same exact story. They came here from Florida to play football, and that's it. So really the motivation behind like motivating now and like helping out students now is just to help everyone else realize like there's a story behind each of these students. Like these students are unique. These students can help bring some kind of change to campus. I don't care if it's big as far as getting a house named after them or something small and just making people feel comfortable. But I think the motivation is just so no student has to walk around lost.
A person that walking around lost and just find themselves anywhere and think that's like the best place for them, when it's like they have a better option right here. So you're showing that better option.
Definitely good, man. Definitely you being on campus, making that happen. And I mean, not and like sometimes you feel like you gotta be like a way older guy or something to look down, but like, man, you gotta experience that. I mean, we all, love to hear, man, just from coming out mountains and kind of starting for us, and with us coming in after you, with you still being active on campus, still having a brotherhood, and everything on that, man. So shout out to you, man, for real. That's definitely a movement. That's definitely something I want to be able to create back maybe in my hometown, something like that too. So
It's a new decade, so in the next decade, where do you see either your position at Mount or like your future position? What would you want that to be?
Well, if I end up at Mount or not too sure, but I see myself being like a provost or kind of like a VP for diversity somewhere, whether that's in higher education or if it's in the corporate business world, but really just being somebody who can dictate what initiatives and what efforts and what goals we're gonna have surrounding diversity and how we gonna hire, how we gonna act once they're here. But really just being that person, like I know what I'm talking about when it comes to this diversity stuff. So I'm experienced, and I'm not just gonna say from based off what I know or just because I'm black, I'm telling you what we should do for diversity, but just have some initiative behind it and some goals and resources behind it. So.
Yeah, this is an interview right here. So you got one right here.
Hey, when I get the job, man, just let me know. Y'all got jobs. So.
There it is, man. Well, every video we in, man, we always get Nate right here with some poetry, man. So you can check this out.
Oh yeah, I heard the last one, man.
You're gonna be the first one to get to hear this one, man. This is a new release. It's a new release, man.
Every episode, some exclusive.
Something they haven't heard before.
Something we ain't heard before. All right, let's see. We got the vault, man. Let's see.
Oh, shout your brother out real quick, man. That was a pretty good story, man. So wanna shout him out?
You said what?
I'm gonna shout your brother out, man.
All right, man. I'll shout out all of them. So shout out my older brother, Ernest Tucker, for helping me out, helping me along the way, man. He up in Minnesota right now. Shout out my younger brother, Carlton right now. He up at Kentucky State, doing his thing, balling. Shout out not my blood brother, but my brother through ties, Therese Scott, balling in Italy right now. So appreciate y'all.
All right, we're gonna hop in this thing. We can kind of get like a drum roll. care if you like me. Leave that negative energy over there. Can't cut my circulation while we're breathing the same air. So if you're choking on smoke, we all will. It's only fair. So who cares if you don't like me? I don't really care. We all are diamonds, some duller than others, making Mayans, sacrificing others. We all shining, spit image of our mothers, but yet we hold so much hate in our hearts, so we stab our brothers. I'm just talking. Maybe I'm hurt. Finding light in darkness, trying not to end up on a shirt. Start trekking, big ears, Captain Kirk. Digging for something not in the dirt. Looking for a heart that can't get murked. But maybe I'm just talking. Don't do that much. Because when I walk in, I'm judged. If I don't sack my pants and sell drugs, I'm still an angry black man who shoots guns. Not a real one if I don't live in the slums. Trying to make a life, but I'm viewed as dumb. What is the world? I'm confused. The term real nigga are contorted views if I'm a drug dealer or got drug mules, store stiller. I'm viewed as cool, smoking the hallway, skip school. Yo, let's make sure our family's straight. That a little baby's got a hot plate, a couple loose screws in my crate. Money ain't shit if your mental break. All this stuff in the media don't make what a real nigga do on his lunch break. One step at a time over 400 years. Let's see if this generation can make the culture shake. But maybe I'm just talking. Maybe I'm just talking.
You're no man, 83.
There it is, man. Well, there you go. There you go, man. There y'all go. Another episode from the Outspoken. Let's get it.